All right, this is how amazing you guys are. A while ago, probably over a year, a commenter left a message saying, hey, have you checked out Jim Green? And he said in his country of South Africa that these are as common as Red Wing is over here in the US. So I said, no, I haven't, but let me see what I can do. So I found Jim Green online, I emailed them, working with a courier, I got what I think may have been the first pair of Jim Greens in the United States. Now, my initial review on that boot was actually part of a kind of a 2-for-1, which was called Cheap But Great Work Boots. And I said in that video, I remember that boot was a tremendous value. Now, here's the thing. I really think that long-term reviews are more useful than short-term reviews. A lot of times it's nice to get your first initial impressions on something, and if something is a new product, a lot of times a first impression video can be very useful, but after you get to know something and wear it, and you get to know all of its little intricate details, the things that don't work, the things that do, the things that become a real problem over time, I think that's a more valuable review. And I learned this lesson the hard way with Paul Evans a while back. I had worn them a few times, but not enough to realize that these things seem to wear twice as fast as anybody else, and to this day, I would never recommend Paul Evans to anybody. So besides wearing these Jim Green Razorbacks, at my day job as an electrician, I also wore them almost exclusively while building out the video studio that I'm going to be moving into. And that included pretty much everything from framing, to insulation, to sheetrock, to paint, to carpet, to electrical, almost every discipline, of which I'm only good at a few. I had to do in the Jim Greens. And to be honest with you, I think at this point, I have a better idea about these boots than I really could with anything else. First off, these boots are nice and roomy. Not to the point where I'm like swimming around in them, but they're definitely wider than most. And if you have an E or a double E, I don't think you'll ever have a problem fitting into these boots and wearing them comfortably. I also really appreciated the fact that these don't have that kind of ski boot feel that sometimes you get with Pacific Northwest boots that are really, really well built and very, very heavy duty. Sometimes they're so stiff that you feel yourself kind of clunking along in them and not really feeling the ground. These, while they don't feel like my old Brahmas or like those terrible indestructible boots where there's nothing between you and the ground except for the sole, they were a nice balance between those two. They were nicely structured and supportive. Matter of fact, walking across joists, which you should never do, that's very, very unsafe for the record, or standing on a ladder for an extended amount of time, I never felt myself lacking. The one place that I did feel these boots were lacking is in the insole. Now, between you and the ground, you have the insole, you have a couple layers of, I think, what is basically fiberboard, there's no leather there, and then you have the sole itself. Now, of course, I would prefer if there was thick bits of leather inside of this thing, but you gotta remember that these boots cost $139. Double row stitched down construction, a lot of stuff to love here, okay? But the insole is the thing that I really had kind of an issue with. And what I think this was a calculated risk on the part of Jim Green. In order to keep that price nice and affordable for people, they found things that they could skimp on. One of the things they could skimp on is that insole, and probably one of the reasons that they went a little bit cheaper with it is because they know that you'll be able to replace it. So I noticed that if I replace this insole with a pair of super feet or something similar, a decent insole that'll be supportive, they really were transformed and extremely comfortable. Now, I did wear these plenty upstairs when I was actually, building out the studio. I did wear them on some concrete, on some dirt, kind of the typical thing that you would do. I found that on the concrete, I did want a little bit more shock absorption. Something with some leather in there would be nice, or maybe, again, a thicker insole. But again, for their price, they're exceptionally better than, to be honest with you, I think that they're better than most $250 to $300 boots that I've tried. I also really came to love the design of these things, that sort of one-piece upper leather construction. It looks similar to like a Danner hiking boot. And that means that if you do choose to wear these casually rather than on the job site, or maybe a little bit of both, they don't really look as job site ready, almost as if you just came from work and you didn't remember to dress for the occasion or something. They do look really good if you're going to wear them casually. Of course, they do have it where it counts as well when it comes to a work boot, which is actually more important. But I think that the real benefit of these boots, though, is the fact that they're so affordable that you're not really afraid to do real work in them. So I had to strip a door the other day. So, I'm brushing on the paint stripper, I'm scraping it off with a scraper, parts are falling all over the place, And the Jim Greens were getting pretty damn dirty. I mean, these things have shrugged off paint and, sheetrock compound, all kinds of nasty stuff, and I'm not really afraid to get them dirty because they're work boots and they don't cost $600. I gotta be honest with you, although I do wear my Knicks and everything as hard as I wear any other boots, sometimes when I kneel down and I know that upper leather is touching the ground, I get a little it kind of bothers me a bit. With these though, you know that they're $139 boots. They're great $139 boots, no doubt, but you don't really have a heart attack, or I don't have a heart attack, when I actually use them hard. So I think that's one of the benefits of their price. Now, one of the problems with these boots back when I reviewed them is that they were basically impossible to get. As I mentioned, a courier came to my house with mine. Since then, they've been available on Amazon, but now they actually have a Jim Green US website, and I believe they have a couple stockists who are starting to pick up and carry their product, so it's really great to see. The thing is, I get a lot of questions through emails and DMs and stuff like that, people who are asking me, hey, I'm an apprentice, or hey, I'm just starting out in my career or whatever, what's a good boot? I can't afford a Whites or a Westco or a Knicks or what have you. And I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, look, get a pair of Jim Greens. They're extremely affordable. You could buy 2 pairs for what you would pay for a Red Wing, and I think that you get more value that way. You can get these, you can quite literally wear them for a number of years. They're resolable. And by the time you save up enough for that dream pair that you have in your mind, that $500 or $600 pair of boots, these will have served you exceedingly well. To be honest, I've worn these boots when I've had the opportunity to wear boots that cost multiple times their price. I forgot how much I loved a padded ankle and a tongue. They feel very, very comfortable from the moment you put them on. And of course, I would like a little bit more support, a little bit more leather in there, but that would all add up to a more expensive boot, and that's the charm of these. I see these almost like when you see a watch collector and they have Rolex and Omega and all these fancy watches, but they almost always have a Timex weekender because it's the watch that they can throw on if they're going to go somewhere and they just don't want to worry about what they're wearing. They almost always have a Timex weekender in there. That's what the Jim Green Razorback is. It's the boot that you don't know why, but you just love it. Maybe it's that kooky frog logo with the musket and the hat. Or maybe it's the fact that they kind of they do some interesting things that we don't normally see here in the US, like these green laces, and they just have a neat approach to things. Whatever it is, Jim Green is one of my favorite brands that I've tried out this year. They really are. And for $139, they are a value that I can't think of an equal. I really can't. I think that if you are starting out in your career or you just need a decent pair of work boots and you don't want to break the bank, these are a tremendous value. I can't speak highly enough of them. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, there's a link in the description if you want to go check out Jim Green, and I'll catch you next time.